So one of the things that I really love about Josh and his story is that, I talk about identify and develop your child's genius. And I think a lot of parents, if your kid is not already, getting these incredible academic scores, they think, what, genius? But Josh had a passion, and I'll let you speak to this, Josh, later on, a passion for sound and music and voice. And coming out of Summerhill, the original self-directed education, which is radically unstructured, he managed to create, I think, an amazing, diverse, fascinating career based on his passions. And so rather than, do a spoiler alert or spoil the whole show, I'm going to leave you with suspense as Josh tells you first about his experience at Summerhill and then how his passion led to, I think, one of the most original careers I've ever heard of.
And so, Josh, if I can interrupt, Joshua, could you just frame Summerhill? Because a lot of folks have no idea what Summerhill is, and then go into your experience there.
Yes. Well, thank you all for asking me to be here. It's a pleasure. Summerhill really is the pioneer in sort of alternative education. It's now been going 100 years. And it was started by a Scotsman, A.S. Neal, Alexander Sutherland Neal, who was a teacher. He was trained to be a teacher in school, where he was supposed to whip the kids into submission and, learning and all. And he was very unhappy with that. So he just he just didn't believe that that worked. The kids were unhappy. Everybody was unhappy. Nobody was able to excel at anything particularly. And so through his sort of study and association with other people like Rudolf Steiner and various people like that, he just kind of moved in the direction of freedom for kids. And he started this school, Summerhill, again, 100 years ago, when this kind of thing was really unheard of. And so Summerhill has been running continuously for 100 years. It's never stopped. It's currently, the headmaster is now his daughter. And basically, Summerhill is a boarding school, which is already an advantage because it's a 24-hour environment, right? So kids are not moving from one sort of environment at home to another environment or atmosphere in the school. And the essential tenet of Summerhill is that give kids freedom and they will develop in the most optimum way for their happiness and fulfillment. And so I'm going to underline their happiness and fulfillment, not necessarily the happiness of the societal structures about them or their parents or anyone else, because ultimately, a happy child can turn into a happy, healthy adult, which is probably optimum for society. So the way Summerhill is structured, again, it's a boarding school and it's small. When I was there, it's probably similar. There were only about 60 students. So everybody intimately knows everybody else. It was from ages, we had people 4 years old up to the equivalent of high school graduation. This was in England, though, which is a little bit of a different system in England. They have the GCEs, the exams, but it's basically would be from 4 years old to what we would probably call, high school graduation. So at Summerhill, there are lessons in every typical subject that are necessary, quote unquote, I put that in quotes, necessary. They're offered every day. There's a regular curriculum. However, the kids make their own choice about whether they want to go or not. It's completely 100% optional whether the kids go to lessons or not. So in addition to that, so they're offered every day, same schedule, but it's up to the children to go. There's no pressure to go or not go. In addition, as a community, the community basically makes the rules that they live by. So we had and have meetings, right? Every Saturday, there would be the general meeting. And in the meeting, people would bring up, anybody could bring up something. There's a chairman of the meeting and a secretary to kind of make notes and keep track of things, sort of keep things organized. But anybody can bring up an issue they have. It can be an issue about some rules in the school, or often it can be between people. So and so is bullying me and they won't let me, you know, I mean, kids, right? People, this is a interactive human environment. So relationships, all this kind of stuff that happens between people is happening there, but people can bring up an issue, a problem, a complaint, anything, and then the whole community will discuss it, and people will make proposals. You know, what do you propose? After it's been discussed, you know, and I mean, for instance, someone say, well, so-and-so is teasing me all the time and they won't leave it. And someone will say, hey, they're the best of friends. I see them all the time, like holding hands and, you know, it's like, well, do you? Well, yeah, you know, and so all this kind of sort of reality and truth and perspective can come out, and then people will make proposals, and then they're voted on by the entire community. And every person's vote, from the 4-year-old child up to, when I was there, Neil, who was in his 80s, had one vote, and then we would, you know, we would pass a law, or it would be voted down or whatever. So the point being, obviously a 4-year-old is not going to have as wide a perspective on life, reality, human relationships as, you know, older people. But to be in a situation where everybody's discussing and listening, and there's this kind of general communication, which then allows even the little kids to have a say. Their vote matters as much as the headmasters. Neil's, the 4-year-old kid's vote matters. And just to sort of feel like you're being given this responsibility, it's something to take seriously. And so this is how you develop responsibility. In a traditional situation, and I'm talking black and white here, of course, basically adults make the rules, kids have to follow. Adults, society, whatever structures, kids have to follow. It's basically like they're just forced. You just have to do this. You know, this is what you have to do. Don't give me any guff, you know, and it's just, this is the way it is, or some variation of that type of energetic structure, doesn't recognize the autonomy and power that every human being has, however developed or less developed. And so having this environment where you're giving kids this responsibility actually teaches them to be responsible. And, you know, so basically, in a nutshell, Neil, the founder, his sort of goal, he would put the emotions come before the intellect, basically. You really, you know, have to understand emotions and become emotionally mature, and that the intellect, you know, really can catch up at any time. We're smart people, but if the emotions are stunted, and you're not able to function emotionally in a sort of mature way, then you're never going to be happy. You're never going to contribute in a really sort of beautiful, meaningful way to society. So it was really, that was the priority, because you can always catch up with academics when you're ready and when you want to. So that was the kind of thing. And his famous catchphrase was, I would rather graduate a happy dustman, that's what they call a garbage collector, and a happy dustman than a neurotic prime minister. Wow. That was one of his little catchphrases. Wow. And so that was the basic sort of idea.